Hello everybody and welcome back to the Week 2 review of this Premier League season. We had the last game last night, which was Newcastle against Liverpool. I was waiting to get that one out of the way before I recorded the video going through all of the results from this weekend. There's been some cracking games, as we mentioned in the preview. I was really looking forward to this weekend because I thought there was lots of games, lots of tight games, and some teams have come out with some fantastic results as well. To obviously kickstart their season. If you're happy to have the reviews back, please do hit that like button and show us that you're enjoying these types of videos, and also please feel free to hit the subscribe button as well, just whilst I'm trying to build up the channel in the first few videos. So obviously this is the second review. We had last week's review. If you want to go back and check that video out, it will still be on the channel, and obviously we had the preview for this weekend's fixtures as well, so feel free to go and check that out, and obviously you can compare and come back to this one and see what I got right and what I got wrong, but we'll be going through that in this video anyway. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first game, which was on Friday night. So the first game was on the Friday night. It was West Ham hosting Chelsea at the London Stadium. West Ham actually took the lead in this game through Lucas Paqueta goal in the 6th minute, and then Chelsea just rampaged, especially in the second half. The goals from Pedro Neto, João Pedro, Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo and Trevor Chalobah. They ended up winning the game 5-1. I did think that Chelsea would win this game. I think I said in the preview that I thought it would be a tight game, purely because obviously the first week Chelsea didn't score at home at Crystal Palace and West Ham got beat 3-0 off Sunderland, and both teams didn't really create too many chances, didn't look like scoring, so I thought it might have been a low scoring game. But the big notable incident in this game was the fact that Cole Palmer was injured in the warm-up, or he felt something in the warm-up that meant that he couldn't play in this game. So when I seen that, I thought West Ham actually quite have a good chance of possibly getting something from this game. It'll give them a bit of a boost to see that Chelsea's main creative player, focal point up front, wasn't going to be in the squad. But it didn't work in that way at all. Chelsea just created chance after chance, especially the reaction after going 1-0 down. They looked really good in front of goal, really clinical, and even without Cole Palmer they were creating so many chances, and that's sort of the Chelsea that I expected to see this season, continuing on from their Club World Cup success. I think on any given day that Chelsea have the ability to beat any team this heavily in the league. So yeah, it was disappointing for West Ham, another disappointing defeat. I think Graham Potter's definitely under pressure now at the moment. They've conceded 8 goals in 2 games, and obviously they're winless, so there's definitely pressure riding on him. He's got to turn the results around, obviously, as quick as possible, but it's just, I don't know what it is with West Ham. It's disappointing to see, because obviously it was only a couple of seasons ago when they had David Moyes in charge and they were in the European competitions, in and around the European places, and they've just fallen so quickly down the league, to a point where now they're potentially going to be drawn into a relegation battle with the 3 promoted teams and maybe a couple of other Premier League teams. So yeah, it's disappointing to see for West Ham. I'm hoping that they can turn the season around soon. Again, I probably wouldn't look too much into the result. I know it's a London derby, and obviously West Ham, some of West Ham's biggest games are against Chelsea and Tottenham when it comes to the Premier League, being London rivals, and it's a heavy defeat. It's an embarrassing defeat, but I think I'll probably expect that from a Chelsea team, especially the signings that Chelsea's made this summer. They look really positive going into the Premier League season, so they'll be happy with 4 points. I think they probably may have expected 6 points to probably beat Crystal Palace. But as for West Ham, they just need to focus on getting some points on the board and getting these results turned around as quick as possible for Graham Potter. Okay, so the 12:30 kickoff on the Saturday was at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City hosted Tottenham, and I was looking forward to this one. This would be one of the games of the weekend, and it certainly delivered. It wasn't a result that I seen coming. Tottenham beating Manchester City away from home, but it just goes to show that Tottenham's start of the season has been flawless. They haven't conceded a goal. They've scored 5 goals, 6 points from 2 games, beating Burnley at home and Man City away. Thomas Frank's system's really in full flow now, and like I say, Tottenham were never going to have the season that they had last year. They were definitely going to be much improved, but to get this sort of result, it just goes to show that the squad that they've got and the business that they've done, it really set them up for a good season this year. As for Manchester City, they had chances in the game. It wasn't like they played awful. And Erling Haaland had a couple of chances. Marmoush had a couple of chances. Rodri and Foden were back on the bench, and they come on for a little cameo in the second half. But I think they just left it a little bit too much to do in a little too less time. So yeah, for Manchester City, I think work still to be done. They had a really good result in the opening week, and obviously I thought they would carry that form on and try and get a good result against an up and coming Spurs side who's, like I say, obviously got a new manager in and got a new system. Um, and they just had a lot of the ball and they were trying to create, had a few half chances, but that was about it. Brennan Johnson got on the score sheet, Joao Palhinha on the score sheet. James Trafford, a lot of people criticising him for the second goal. I personally, I didn't think it was his fault. I didn't know why Nicolas Gonzalez was dropping so deep into the box. I thought he should have been moving away and taking the Tottenham press further away, but instead he dragged them all in, and Trafford just played the ball, they lost the ball, and Joao Palhinha with a fantastic strike. And obviously the first goal was great for Richarlison to beat Manchester City's offside trap. They went with a high line and tried to catch Tottenham out, and it was sort of working for the first half an hour, but then as soon as Brennan Johnson got that goal, Tottenham were just creating chance after chance, and that second half actually I thought Manchester City would come out more brazen and try and create a little bit more, or maybe bring on them players a little bit sooner to try and open up the game. And actually it looked like Tottenham who were more likely to get the third goal in that second half rather than Manchester City getting a goal back in the game. So fantastic performance, one that I didn't see coming. I got that one wrong. But yeah, I think Tottenham's definitely a team to watch out for this season. Maybe if they can keep up this form, which will be the difficult thing, because obviously it's all well and good having a good couple of games to start the season. It's about being consistent now and keep racking these games up and picking the points up. They could potentially push and get into that Champions League spot. But the problem is they already are in the Champions League this season through winning the Europa League. So how are they going to balance the Champions League games with the league form as well as the domestic competitions? It's hard to do that, and there's only a select few teams that can do it. And looking at the likes of Arsenal, Manchester City, and Liverpool, why they're always in and around the top three places in the table. So let's see how Tottenham get on. Really convinced by them at the moment. I'm really enjoying watching them play football under Thomas Frank, as I did when he was at Brentford. So yeah, really good start of the season for Tottenham. Okay, then a bit like the preview segment, I'll do all the 3 o'clock kickoffs in one go here. The first one of which is Bournemouth hosting Wolves at the Vitality Stadium. So this was a low scoring game. There was only a single goal in it. It was Marcus Tavernier's goal in the 4th minute. There was obviously a red card as well for Wolves. Totti Gomez brought down Evan Nilsson as the last man. So Wolves had to play the majority of the second half with 10 men. So in fairness to Wolves, to keep the score down at 1-0 under them circumstances is very good. The result for them is not good. They won't be happy with that. 2 defeats in 2. Obviously losing to Manchester City on the first week and now losing away to Bournemouth. I did think that Bournemouth would have enough to win the game. I said that in the preview. I thought that just their attack with Evan Nilsson and Semenyo would cause problems, and I think actually the scoreline could have been a lot bigger. I know Semenyo had a couple of chances, Evan Nilsson as well missed a couple of chances, so I think it was slightly a bit of a let off for Wolves, but like I say, they defended really well to keep the score down with 10 men. So it's, again, for Wolves, it's a poor start of the season. A bit like West Ham, they could potentially end up getting dragged into that relegation battle. Obviously, we'll touch on the promoted sides as well in one of the 3 o'clock games, but all of the promoted sides have used the home advantage by picking up 3 points in their home game at the start of the season. So to have Wolves sitting on 0 points from 2 games is a bit disappointing. And again, Wolves are a good side. They've got a lot of good players in there. I mentioned Strand Larson. There's potentially rumours of him moving away. I know Newcastle's had a £50 million bid rejected for him yesterday. So Wolves' stance is that he won't be sold. And I don't think Wolves can afford to sell him, because if they do want to stay up in the league this season, they're going to need goals from somewhere, and they've already let go of Mateus Cunha. And I thought that Wolves would be alright because they had Strand Larson, a clinical number 9. He come in his first season in the Premier League last year and scored 14 Premier League goals. So that is fantastic, and he's just got to keep that form going this year to try and keep Wolves afloat from being dragged into that battle. They didn't really create many chances. Like I say, it was heavily Bournemouth, and Bournemouth with a better team had the better chances, and obviously ended up getting the 3 points as well. So they bounced back from their defeat to Liverpool last week, where I thought that they played fantastic to go away at Anfield and score 2 goals on the opening game, and they fought back from 2-0 down as well. So it's a difficult ask to do that away from home. I think Bournemouth are on for a very good year. They're just consistent always with Iraola as the manager. They're just a consistent team. You know exactly what you're getting from Bournemouth. Very difficult to beat, very resolute, and can create chances all across the pitch. So very good result for Bournemouth, and I think this could kickstart their season. They've got a few favourable fixtures coming up now after they got the Liverpool one out the way. So I'm expecting Bournemouth to kick on and really have a good go at this season. Okay, so the next 3 o'clock kickoff was Burnley hosting Sunderland at Turf Moor, and this was, as I described in the preview, a 6-pointer. These two teams both got promoted. Burnley come up second, and Sunderland won the playoffs. So two teams who you would imagine would be in and around the relegation fight, trying to survive relegation, and it was Burnley who come out on top with a 2-0 win, goals from Josh Cullen and Jadon Anthony. Um, I predicted a draw in this one because I just thought it was too difficult to call Sunderland. I thought it would have been on a high from their first win, and I thought Burnley would have been just wanting to get a point on the board after their defeat away at Tottenham in the first week. And actually, Burnley played really well. They created a lot of chances, and in the end, it was all about being clinical. I know Sunderland had a couple of chances as well that very nearly they took the lead in the game, and they were early chances as well. So what I said was that I thought Burnley, as a resolute defence, would try and keep Sunderland out. If Sunderland could have got an early couple of goals, they could have been looking at 6 points from 2 games, back-to-back wins. And unfortunately for Sunderland, they didn't convert them chances. Burnley were clinical, and that was the talking point of the game, really. It was 1-0 for the majority of the second half, and then Sunderland obviously made a couple of changes, brought a couple of attacking players on and tried to go for the game to get that goal and take a point away from Turf Moor. And in the end, Burnley ended up counter-attacking Sunderland and getting that second goal, finishing the game off and taking the 3 points. Credit to Sunderland for trying. They had to do something. They had to try and go for it. And also credit to Burnley for picking up the first win. It's difficult to bounce back from the first weekend when you get beat, and you get beat heavily. And a lot of people are writing Burnley off for this season. I think it's understandable because they're a promoted side. But I don't think you can write anyone off. I think the Premier League is so hard to call and so tight, and already in the first couple of weeks we've seen so many shock results. It's the beauty of the Premier League and why it always delivers. So I don't think any team should be written off. I think Burnley played fantastically well, and they got a great result. As for Sunderland, I think as a 6-pointer, you didn't want to lose this game. But I think you've got some favourable fixtures that's coming up as well, a bit like Bournemouth, where you can easily bounce back. And like I say, you don't know from one week to the next what the result's going to be. It doesn't matter who you're playing. So full credit to Sunderland for trying in the game and obviously doing all they could to get at least a point from the game. And like I say, I'm confident that they'll bounce back. Based on the performance against West Ham, I think there's potential there. With a young squad, it'll grow as the season goes on. And obviously Reggie LeBrie is a great manager as well. But well done Burnley for getting the win. And then the third and final 3 o'clock kickoff was Brentford hosting Aston Villa at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Again, there was only a single goal in this game, and it was Dango Ouattara on his debut for Brentford. They beat Aston Villa 1-0. So Villa has now scored 0 goals in the opening 2 games. They obviously drew 0-0 on the first week to Newcastle, and they've been beat 1-0 away at Brentford. I didn't see this result coming. I thought that Aston Villa would bounce back in this game, and they would want to make a statement after such a poor showing on the opening day in front of the home fans. But in fairness to Brentford, they were resolute. They kept them out again. And Dango Ouattara with a fantastic finish on his debut. It seems to be a great buy for Brentford, signing him from Bournemouth, I believe. So that's a great purchase. He obviously is being brought in to be the Mbeumo replacement. Some people thought he was being brought in to be the Yohan Wissa replacement, but obviously that's evidently not the case. They still want to integrate Wissa back into that squad. When that'll happen, I'm not too sure. If it does happen, but that's what Brentford want to do, and I think this result will help them because obviously they can convince Yohan Wissa and say, look, we're still picking up results whether you're in the squad or not. So his bargaining power of him being the main focal point and the main number 9 in that team is slowly slipping away. And obviously, as for Aston Villa, I'm not too sure on them. I'm not too convinced at the start of this season. I really thought they would have a good year. I thought the business they had done was really smart, really shrewd. They kept hold of Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers, and they brought in Evan Gessan to strengthen in the attack. There was rumours about bringing in Asensio again. So when you look at that team and the midfield that they've got as well is such a solid midfield, but they're just not converting chances. It's not necessarily that they're not creating them, because especially in the second half last week against Newcastle, they were really creating chances and just couldn't put them away. And obviously they had 17 shots in this game against Brentford, but it was only two on target. So it's all about being clinical in this situation for Aston Villa. A bit disappointing from them, because obviously you do want to see a team like Aston Villa competing for the European places, and as it stands they're on 1 point from 2 games, so it's not the start that the Villa fans would have wanted. As for Brentford, a lot of people again were writing them off because of everything, all the noise and the situation around the transfer market. So that 3 points for them is absolutely huge. To get that on the board against a team like Aston Villa, I think the Brentford fans will be really, really happy with that result. So yeah, congratulations to Brentford. So the 5:30 game on the Saturday was Arsenal hosting Leeds United at the Emirates Stadium, and Arsenal come out 5-0 winners. Victor Gyökeres with his first 2 goals this season, Jurrien Timber with 2 goals and an assist, and then obviously Bukayo Saka as well with a goal. So I actually thought Leeds were very good for the first half an hour of this game. They seemed to be keeping Arsenal out. As much as Arsenal were creating a couple of chances, they didn't really look like they were threatening too much, and Leeds looked comfortable in the game. They actually had a big chance. I think it was Pascal Struijk with a fantastic header that David Raya had to make an incredible save and keep them out. So they were very close to taking the lead in this game. And I think Leeds have been very impressive. One of the most, if not the most impressive promoted team that's come up so far this year. They got a fantastic result against Everton last week, and I did obviously predict Arsenal to win this game. And as I said to Leeds fans, I don't think you need to look too much into it if you do get beat, because Arsenal's going to be up there competing for the league title. And I think it's a statement result from Arsenal's case as well to go out and win 5-0. Like I say, Jurrien Timber had a fantastic game, 2 goals, 1 assist. Victor Gyökeres with his first couple of goals. That's good for him to get the confidence flowing. And obviously, Arsenal look to be creating lots of chances. He's got to be there to put them away. He could have had more. Obviously, his first big chance come in the game, and he just snatched at it a little bit. I was wondering if he could have maybe taken a touch and slotted it home. But even still, the penalty was converted fantastically, and obviously it was a great, mazy run and finish for his first goal as well. So Arsenal's been crying out for a striker for a long time. They seem to have got one, and a very good one at that. Bukayo Saka scored as well. It was a great finish, very, very powerful finish, but then he went off injured. I think we're still waiting to see what the result of the scan will be for that one. I think he might be getting assessed today, or he might have already been assessed yesterday. I haven't checked to see the significance of that injury. If he is out for a long period of time, obviously there is an international break coming up, so that'll soften the blow a little bit. But he would be a big miss for Arsenal. He's one of the most creative players in the Premier League. He creates chances for fun. And obviously, as well as that, Martin Odegaard went off injured as well. So again, a way to see his results. If both of them are out for a substantial period of time, then Arsenal's losing a massive core of creativity. The only thing they do have is that Eberechi Eze was announced at this game, so he can come in and maybe fill the void of Martin Odegaard, and in that you're getting a very creative, attacking-minded midfielder. So I think Arsenal will be alright. They do obviously have a difficult game next week, which is the clash against Liverpool, but I think they can take confidence from the opening 2 games. They again have flawless record, haven't conceded, they've scored 6 goals, so they are currently top of the league on goal difference, just above Tottenham. But it's good to see that both North London clubs have started the season without conceding, and 6 points from 2 games. They both look on fire. And yeah, like I say, I thought Arsenal would be up there competing for the Premier League title, and they've made a case for that with the opening 2 games. The statement result would be if they can go to Anfield next week and not get beat. I don't think there's any expectation on them to win. I just think they have to not get beat. If you can win your home games and don't lose your away games, then you're on for a perfect season, as Arsenal's already experienced an invincible season. So yeah, great result for Arsenal. I thought it was a good performance for the first half from Leeds. And obviously the second half was always going to be difficult to win at half time 2-0 down, so I wouldn't look too much into it. They've got quite a favourable fixture next week at home at Liverpool. Leeds have got a favourable fixture at home to Newcastle next week, so I think they'll be looking at that and maybe trying to take some points from that game. But yeah, great result for Arsenal. Okay, so then we're on to the 2 o'clock kickoffs. Again, I'll do these both in one go. The first one is Crystal Palace, who were hosting Nottingham Forest at Selhurst Park, and Crystal Palace drew 1-1. I called this one. I thought these two teams are inseparable. You can't pick between them who was going to win. Ismail Assar with the goal for Crystal Palace and Callum Hudson-Odoi with the equaliser in the second half for Nottingham Forest. So it was a great result all round. I think both teams will be happy with that. Crystal Palace are taking 2 points from their first 2 games away at Chelsea and at home to Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest have taken 4 points after beating Brentford last week. So again, I think these two teams are going to be competing in and around the European places, maybe for that Europa Conference League. They are obviously both in their respective European competitions. Nottingham Forest are in the Europa League and Crystal Palace are in the Conference League, so I think both teams could have a good go in them competitions. I thought it was a game of two halves, although Crystal Palace were really good in the first half. And I thought Nottingham Forest come back into it, and obviously once they got the equaliser in the second half, they were really growing into the game and actually had chance at the end to win that. So I think a draw was a fair result on the basis of that. Crystal Palace are maybe punished for not taking more of their chances in the first half. They were 2 or 3-0 up. Then obviously it's a mountain to climb for Nottingham Forest to get back into that game, but they didn't. And as soon as Nottingham Forest did get back into it, they were breeding confidence and they were pushing on, looking like the team most likely to get the 3 points. So yeah, good result. I think both teams, like I say, both teams will take that. It would have been a nightmare for either team to lose it. Like I say, haven't been dominant in separate periods of the game. So I think at the end they were happy to settle for that point and take a point. Like I say, both of them are still unbeaten as we go into the season, which is perfect. It is perfect start. Without obviously getting 2 wins, the last thing you want to do is go into the game and be defeated back-to-back games. I thought it was great to see Justin Devaney getting minutes from the get-go, obviously in Eberechi Eze's absence, with him now leaving to join Arsenal as we just mentioned before. I'm hoping that he'll get more minutes because I think there's a player there, and is a different type of player to Eberechi Eze, but similar in terms of creativity and creating chances. He was putting crosses into the box for Ismail Assar and Mateta to get on at the end of. So yeah, very happy to see him getting game time, and I'm hoping that'll continue now. Oliver Glasner obviously has a lot of trust in him, and he might obviously make some appearances in the domestic cups as well as obviously the European competitions as well. So well done to Justin Devaney as well for getting that start and performing really well. Okay, and the second 2 o'clock kickoff was Everton hosting Brighton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. I was so close to going with an Everton win for this game. I really wanted to, just because it was the first game in the new stadium, and I went with a draw. But Everton were fantastic. Jack Grealish with 2 assists. That was a sensational performance. And as I said, his move to Everton from Manchester City is purely around the World Cup coming at the end of this season. He's got one eye on that, and he wants to be part of Thomas Tuchel's squad. Iliman Ndiaye with the first goal, James Garner with the second goal. Everton winning 2-0 in the game. Brighton as well had a penalty which was saved by Jordan Pickford, so about as perfect as the first game in the new stadium could have gone for Everton and for Everton fans. The atmosphere was brilliant. Obviously before the game kicked off and the players were walking out, it was just a sea of blue. So Everton fans created a very, very good atmosphere, and they needed to bounce back. Obviously it was a disappointing defeat last week away at Leeds. I think some Everton fans would have been expecting at minimum a point, but they probably would have been hoping for a win against a newly promoted side. And yeah, this was a perfect response against a Brighton team who by the way, they are a fantastic team. Fabian Hurtzler's got them playing some really good football. They were unlucky last week, I thought, against Fulham to concede late on. So yeah, for Brighton it's 1 point from 2 games, which maybe is slightly disappointing. Again, I thought that they would be in and around with the likes of Crystal Palace and the Nottingham Forest, pushing up to try and get into the European spots. they've got a long way to go. It's a long season, so they can still push on for that. But the start of the season's maybe been a little bit underwhelming from a Brighton point of view. But Everton, like I say, bouncing back, this could be the kickstart of their season. I know they've got Wolves away. I think it is Wolves away next week. So they'll be looking to try and capitalise on a weakened Wolves team who've been defeated twice in the opening two games. And I can see them, I can see them pushing on and trying to get a result there. As for Brighton, they've got to face Manchester City at home. A difficult game because Man City's going to be wanting to bounce back after their defeat at home at Tottenham. But yeah, on the basis of this game, I think Everton will be fine for the season. David Moyes has got them playing really well. He did towards the end of last season, and I think they're just going to continue that form on and push on this season. Maybe try and break into the top half of the table. That's where I thought that they should be looking after the end of last season. They picked up some really good wins against some top opposition. So again, they started the season with a win over Brighton, 2-0 win, clean sheet, and a penalty save in the new stadium. What a start for Everton and the Toffees. And the 4:30 kickoff on the Sunday was Fulham hosting Manchester United at Craven Cottage. Again, there was another penalty miss in this game, so 2 penalty misses on the Sunday games. So 2 penalty misses on the Sunday. Obviously one in the Everton-Brighton game and one in the Fulham-Man United game. Bruno Fernandes blazing his effort over the bar. It was a Rodrigo Muniz own goal for Manchester United, and Fulham goal scorer was Emile Smith-Rowe. I thought it was Lenny Yoro who had originally got the goal for Manchester United, but it deflected in off Rodrigo Muniz, so it was deemed to be an own goal. I thought Man United again were impressive for large parts of this game, especially the first half, and obviously when they got their goal, I thought they would kick on and see out the game and get the 3 points, first 3 points of the season. And then Smith Rowe, being on the pitch for less than 2 minutes, had an instant impact and levelled the game up for Fulham. And I did say I thought this game would be a draw. It's always a tight game between Fulham and Man United. So yeah, I think it went just about as I expected it to. I said Rodrigo Muniz had staked a case in the previous game, obviously getting that late equaliser away at Brighton to start this game, and he was thrown in, but unfortunately he was on the score sheet again, just for the wrong team. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously there's decisions there for Marco Silva to think about. Does he go back to Raul Jimenez? Does he go for I don't think Rodrigo Muniz had a particularly poor game. I thought they had chances, just this time didn't put them away. I think Fulham will be happy with a sort of a consistent start of the season, 2 points from 2 games. Man United will be again slightly deflated. I don't think this is a game that Man United fans would have probably been expecting to win. Fulham's always a difficult place to go. I know they won there last season 1-0, but I think from the opening 2 games, Arsenal's home and Fulham away, and then Man United's got a game against Burnley at home next week, so I think that's a game where they'll be maybe expecting to get 3 points from. But I think they'll take 1 point from 2 games, considering the opening fixtures of this season. But obviously, Man United fans, let us know if I've got that wrong. If you were expecting to maybe even beat Arsenal or to beat Fulham, are you convinced by Ruben Amorim's system? I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I think he's just integrating the players slowly. Obviously, Benjamin Sesko again started on the bench and come on and had a little cameo. So I think he's doing the right thing. He's taking his time with the team, taking his time with the squad. And I think it'll come good in the end. I don't think you'll be having the season that you had last year. I think you'll definitely be in and around the European places, maybe even pushing up into the top 6. The final game of this Matchweek 2 was last night on the Bank Holiday Monday. It was Newcastle hosting Liverpool at St James's Park. I think a lot of people were looking forward to this game. It was potentially set up to be the most eventful game of the weekend, and I think it delivered. Obviously, there was a red card in there again. Anthony Gordon got sent off for a high challenge on Virgil van Dijk. He put his studs down the back of Van Dijk's calf. I think it was contentious between obviously the Newcastle fans and the Liverpool fans, whether that was a red card. But I think when you look at the evidence and you look at the replays, I do think it was a red card. The game finished 3-2 to Liverpool. A very, very late winner, 90 plus 10th minute equaliser from Rion Goma. Hugo Ekitike got on the score sheet against the club who tried to sign him in the summer, and Ryan Gravenberch opened the scoring for Liverpool, and Newcastle fought back from 2-0 down with goals from Bruno Guimaraes and William Asula. So it's great to see William Asula getting on the score sheet, because I think he needs to get game time in him to start really fulfilling his potential. I've got a feeling that Eddie Howe doesn't really trust him, because he doesn't turn to him sometimes when he's on the bench and the game's there to be won or to try and get back into the game. He'll normally go for someone else, maybe he's a midfielder or something like that. He won't really turn to Asula, so I thought it was great to see him getting on the score sheet, and he equalised the game in the 88th minute. And at that point, it looked like Newcastle had done enough just to get the draw, and I predicted a draw in this game. And then Liverpool made the extra man advantage count in the end. They overloaded, and 16-year-old Rio Ngoma with a fantastic finish to seal the game for Liverpool. I think from the main takeaway from this game was I still think Liverpool's defence is there to be exploited. Obviously, they didn't have a starting right back. Connor Bradley and Frimpong didn't start for them. McAllister missed the game, which was a crucial bit of information that I didn't have, obviously, when I was doing the preview. That only come out yesterday or the day before, that he wouldn't be featuring, I believe, because his wife is having a baby. So, yeah, he was a big miss in that midfield for Liverpool. In regards to this game, it was a similar type of game to Liverpool's first game against Bournemouth. They went 2-0 up, they looked really comfortable, and then they just let the lead slip away, and Newcastle come back into it, and then they score a late goal and they get the 3 points. So this is why Liverpool will always be up and competing for the title, because they have that ability to just turn the game on when they need to. When it comes down to it and it's crunch time, Liverpool will always do what they need to do to get that result. And as I say, in that case, they made the extra man count, and they overloaded, and they end up scoring a fantastic goal. And it really was a great finish from young Rio. Great to see him getting on the pitch and getting some minutes, and obviously getting the 3 points for Liverpool. I do believe that if Newcastle maybe had that 11 men, it could have been a different story. But then I also think that, they come back into the game with 10 men. Maybe they used that to their advantage, and Eddie Howe and the staff were riling the players up to try and get that result and get back into the game. And I don't think they could have asked for much more from that Newcastle team. They really left their all out on the pitch. It's just a shame, they're playing against a world-class opposition. And Liverpool's record in the Premier League against Newcastle is fantastic. They haven't lost in, I believe it might be 18 or 19 games now. So, yeah, great for Liverpool, great result. They take 6 points from the first two games, along with Arsenal and Tottenham. So, yeah, very interested to see how this season develops. And obviously, like I say, Liverpool are playing Arsenal next week. That's a massive game in regards to the title. So I can't wait to tune in for that one. I'll obviously be getting the preview up later in this week. I will be going through and seeing who I think is going to win in that one. But credit to Liverpool, fantastic result for them. And obviously, the Isaac saga is still not finished. We've got a week left for this window. Where will Isaac be come the end of this weekend? So that is the week 2 review sorted for this weekend. Like I say, there's been some fantastic games in there, some great results, and really good to see the promoted sides all picking up 3 points from their home games in the first 2 weekends. I think it makes it for a very competitive season, and the likes of Aston Villa and Newcastle, who maybe have been in and around the European places, they are only on 1 point from 2 games. So work to do for them clubs. Fantastic to see the likes of Brentford and Bournemouth getting their first wins of the season. And yeah, like I say, that title race at the minute, the way it's building up between Arsenal and Liverpool. And don't write Manchester City off just because they had one poor result. That doesn't mean that they are out of the race. It's just as it stands at the moment. There's 3 teams on 6 points. One of them is Tottenham as well, Liverpool and Arsenal. So it's setting the season up to be really, really impressive. If you have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like and a comment. Let me know your thoughts on your team's results this weekend. And obviously what I'll do is I'll get that video up for the preview for week 3 before we head into the international break and we have a couple of weeks off. Thanks very much for tuning in, and until the next one, take care of yourself.